Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting poem from grade 9th CBSE, The Road Not Taken, by a very famous poet, Robert Frost. So once the poet was going through a forest, he reached a point where the path branched out into two directions. Both the paths looked equally attractive. The poet decided to take the one that was less traveled by. Years later, the poet recalls his making that choice. He says that it has made all the difference. The poet means to say that the choices which one makes in one's life are made forever. One can't turn back and make a second choice. Therefore, it is essential to make one's choices very carefully. So now let's understand the poem in detail. We're going to start with the first stanza. It was the autumn season. Yellow wood means a forest with leaves that are wearing out and they had turned pale and yellow. So the poet was going through a forest. He reached a point from where the road diverged in two directions. Being the only one traveler, he could not travel by both the roads at the same time. He had to choose one out of the two. The poet stood there and thought for a long time. He was able to see the road until where it curved, after which it was covered with trees and was not to be seen. It happens in our life also, where we have choices. And we have to choose one out of them. We take time to think about pros and cons, whether it is suitable for us or not. And only then we decide on what path we should choose. So he looked down at one of the roads as far as he could. He could see it up to the point where the road bent behind the bushes. Let's move on to the second stanza. The poet decided to take the other road. It was as beautiful as the first one. Many people had not walked on this path earlier. That is why this path was of grass. After he walked the path for some distance, he felt that the path had been worn out the same way as the other road. And they were similar. However, in fact, both the roads had been used, traveled by almost equally. Let's move on to the third stanza. That morning, both the roads were covered with leaves. No traveler had gone by them so far. Neither of them had been made black by any treading, walking on them. The poet decided to go by the second road and kept the first one for another day. However, the poet knew that there was little chance of his coming back, since every road leads to a new road. And the same way, in our lives, if we choose an option, we must keep on moving ahead with that option, as we never get a chance to come back and then take the other option that we had left earlier. Now let's move on to the fourth stanza. The poet imagines a time many ages hence, in the future. He says that he will then recall to his mind how he had chosen one of the two roads which diverged in a wood in the forest. He will recall how he had decided to travel by the less frequented road, less traveled by road. He will then see that his choice had made all the difference. In other words, it affected not only the future course of the poet's life on earth, but also the course of his spirit after his death. In the same way, when you get older, you will say that way back when you were young, you had two options. The choice that you made you. This is a very powerful message for all the students, that you should be wise and be careful while choosing correct alternative out of the options that you have in your life. Because your future depends on the choice that you make today. So that's all about the poem. I hope you've understood it. If you like the video, make sure you like, share and subscribe it. Thank you. Bye-bye.